All right, we are live. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from all over the world. Want to say a big welcome, and it's so good. I'm very excited. I'm very glad to be on the show today because it's a show where we are creating value for people, where you're going to learn, you're going to be exposed, you're going to get deep insights from professional on this feed. And we have someone very amazing who is here today. She came with her A game to inspire us. When we saw what she does, getting to view her profile on LinkedIn, we were amazed. We were blown away. Why? Because she's all about making a positive impact. She's all about making a difference. She's all about enlightening people to be aware, to be abreast, and to know the things that is going on, especially in the field of AI. Today is a very interesting topic, talking about building an autonomous cloud with AI and infrastructure as code. I told you it's an insightful topic, and we have a, a software engineer, someone who is doing great work, you know, in our field. She's impacting people already, and we have to bring her on stage today because we know we have so many persons in the listening lounge and the audience who will be joining us today who are ready to be impacted on our event today. So, ladies and gentlemen, without no further ado, let's make welcome on stage our special guest today. Oyenchi, good evening. How are you?
Hello, good evening. I'm very well, thank you. Hi, Zion.
Thank you too. It's so good to have you here. We are very excited. It's a privilege and an honor to have you on our stage today, where you are here to share the insights, in your feed. Now, for persons who are meeting you for the very first time, they might be wondering, who is she? Where's she from? What does she do? I'm sure they are so excited and are looking forward to meet you. So we want you to introduce yourself to our audience. Tell us, who are you? For those of us meeting you for the very first time.
Okay, thank you very much, Zion. I'm also glad to be here. So my name is Onyechi Onyenucheya. I'm a software engineer with experience building scalable systems across fintech, government, and government enterprises and compliance generally. So I am proficient with the use of .NET Stack, infrastructure as code, and cloud infrastructure as well, using AWS and Azure. Right. Yeah, that's me. But what m- you asked about my story. I've always loved logic. I've always loved to solve problems. Um, growing up, I always loved I've always loved analysis. I've always loved to think outside the box, and that's what software engineering um brought to me. I always tell people we are magicians because we we bring things to life, right? So we see things that we start things from scratch and then we see it come to life. That's what gives me joy as a software engineer, right? I have my background in finance, banking and finance, but currently I'm a software engineer. So yeah.
Oh, wow, what an amazing story from banking engineering to being a software engineer. And something was very profound that you said that you love solving problems. And these are qualities that are very rare in this time and age that we are. Having people who are problem solver, who want to bring solution to every problem. So you have a problem right now that you're facing, or you're cheesy to bring a solution to your problem. Thank you for joining us. Yes, we have people dropping the comments who are joining us. We have my friend Cora, all the way from the UK. She's saying hi. Yes, we have Esther. Guys, if you are there in the comment section, keep dropping your comments and let us know that you are there. Because, like I said at the beginning of the show, Onyechi came with her A game. She's here to inspire. Yes, she said, Cora said, I like that, bringing things to life. Indeed, indeed, that's very perfect. And I believe that there's so much you have in store for us today. So let's dive deeper into the conversation. Today, we're talking about building an autonomous cloud with AI and infrastructure as code. So we'd love you to go deeper and share with us what you have today so that people in the audience can be able to be inspired Because one thing I know, knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you are aware, the more you become powerful, the more you become valuable. See, today, Onyechi is here to share deep insight with us. So, Onyechi, I'm going to be passing the mic to you now so you can dive in into the conversation.
Cool. Thank you, Zion, once again. So yeah, um, hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here. So today we're going to be talking about something that sits in between automation, cloud, and AI, which is artificial intelligence, right? So we're going to be talking about building an autonomous cloud with AI and infrastructure as code, which is IAC. So I'll be using the short form saying IAC in the stead of infrastructure as code, so I don't have to say the whole word. So if you hear me say IAC, I mean infrastructure as code. Right. So this topic will be especially useful for software engineers, DevOps engineers, or anyone working with cloud technology. So if you're already in the tech world, this could be a very big step forward in how we build and manage systems. And if you're new in the tech space, don't be scared. Or if you're undergoing a career switch, you should also pay close attention, because this is something that you can harness, as it's an exciting area you can learn about and follow. It's going to shape how the future works in the cloud, in cloud infrastructure generally, right? So we'll be talking about building an autonomous cloud with AI and infrastructure. Yeah, we will be seeing how we can design cloud systems that don't just run, but can think, decide, and respond automatically. So I'll be moving to the next slide. So let's dive in. What is infrastructure as code? IAC is the practice of managing and provisioning your computing infrastructure using code instead of clicking through a UI. So normally we have, if you're deploying your cloud infrastructure, we have, if you're using AWS cloud platform, you're using your AWS console. If you are using Azure, you're using the dashboard, right? So instead of you going through the AWS console to click in to create your service, you can just write your code and deploy all your infrastructure at once, using infrastructure as code. So you're deploying it as if you're deploy as if as you would normally deploy a code, right? So instead of manually clicking through your UI or manually configuring your servers, right? So you're just provisioning and managing your cloud infrastructure through code. So think of it like this. Um, you can define all your infrastructure through files using Terraform, using AWS Cloud Formation or Pulumi, right? So what are the benefits of this infrastructure as code? One is consistency in deployment, whether it is you are in your development stage, your development environment, your staging environment, or your prod environment. All your infrastructure will be identical. You don't need to now say, I want to provision 5 servers in your test environment. You click in through the UI 5 times to create your server. In your prod environment, you do the same thing. So that's a waste of time and resources, basically. So now all you have to do is write your code in one place and then deploy it into your test and then your prod environment in one place, and all of them are consistent across all environments. No need to say, oh, it works on my machine, but in prod environment is different, right? So you're consistent across all environments. So two, version controlled infrastructure. So IAC lives in on Git, right? So because it's just like as you would normally write your code, you can review, you can audit, and then roll back your changes just like your normal code, basically. And then third, speed. I already explained this earlier. So you can spin up your entire environment in minutes rather than having to click. Let's say you want to deploy 20 servers, right? Instead of you to create each server per time, you can just write your codes to deploy to the 20 servers and then spin it up. Just apply Terraform apply and then it's up in a few minutes. So there's the speed that comes with it and less repetition. So in summary, instead of creating a server manually, you can just run a file and in seconds, your server, your network, your cloud infrastructure are all provisioned exactly as you've written it. So that's the power of IAC. So next slide. So now, what's the role of AI in autonomous cloud infrastructure? Right. So we've talked about um, infrastructure as code. Now let's add another layer, which is AI. So AI in cloud infrastructure is about adding intelligence, using machine learning and automation to detect problems, predict future events, and act before things break. So you can detect problems, predict events, and also act, right? So what can AI do? What can AI help you do in your cloud infrastructure? One is predictive scaling, right? So AI can take, for instance, can detect if your web application has too much traffic and then automatically scale your server down or scale it up, right? So let's say your web application is facing a lot of traffic, a lot of people are currently on your web application, and then it's consuming a lot of servers. So you can actually AI can detect that maybe it's reducing performance and then add more servers to your infrastructure. That's predictive scaling. Two, it can detect an anomaly. It can detect maybe an unusual behavior, like what I said earlier, a spike in traffic, unusual login attempts, or delays or performance issues. It can detect possible security breach and then notify you. Lastly, it can also make decision based off the rules you give to it. So it can take action like maybe scale out infrastructure, open a service ticket, restart a service, maybe that is non-performant, can restart it. So these are things that AI can help you do rather than having you manually having to log in to your AWS console and check maybe your CloudWatch logs to see, okay, what's the performance of this Lambda, what's the performance of this. AI can notify you or can trigger an alarm if something goes wrong. Now, so if infrastructure as code gives us control over our infrastructure, AI would normally give us insights and then responsiveness. So it gives you insight and it acts on that insight. So you don't just define your systems, you teach them how to respond intelligently. Now moving on, how to integrate AI with infrastructure as code for autonomous operation. Um, so this is how we merge AI and IAC together to create an independent or an autonomous system, right? So I'll be giving you like an example, a real like example of how this would normally integrate and how AI would come in and the steps that it would normally follow. It's like a loop, right? So I'll come back to this slide after I give you example. So first of all, picture this. Let's say your system is experiencing high traffic. AI notices that the CPU usage across your web server is consistently above, let's say, 80% or 90%, right? So instead of paging an engineer to say, or waiting, or having to log in every 20 minutes to see whether the web servers are actually are above the 80% or manually checking in, right? AI can automatically detect this traffic and scale up your resource, right? So it can automatically scale up, add more servers to your cloud infrastructure. So a lot of people might ask, IAC is written in code. So how does AI trigger that? How would AI go and write the code for you? So let's break it down for you. So the first step is AI will observe. We have monitoring platforms like CloudWatch logs, Azure Monitor, or Datadog that is constantly watching your system. They'll look at metrics like traffic, your CPU, usage, response times. Just watch that the system is working fine, right? So if it notices this spike, it notices that the spike is above a particular threshold. So when you're creating your infrastructure and you're setting up this monitoring device, you can set up rules to say, okay, this if it's above this particular threshold, do this, right? So based on this rule, it decides. So when it sees that it's above, let's say, the 85% threshold, it's adds two more servers based off the rule you've set for it. So it would not go back to your code to rewrite your code. So what it will do, it will trigger a workflow where it applies um a it applies it adds two more servers to your variable. So normally let's say your default servers you have five servers that you've deployed in your Terraform code, and then you've set up a rule that if you have more traffic, add two more servers, but if you have less traffic, reduce two more servers. So at every point in time you have five servers, but it can be scaled up to seven servers or can be reduced to three servers. So what it will normally do when it sees this spike, it will now go to the Terraform apply step and add a variable that, okay, I want my servers, server install count to be 5, that's the default, plus 2, that's 7. So what it does, it triggers a Terraform apply steps and adds these two servers to your infrastructure. And then when it goes down to the normal level, it reduces that. So you're not changing the code in your system. It's just doing it via the automation, your IAC workflow, because it's currently in Git, right? So the command will tell Terraform, spin up two more servers to match the new desired state. So it's not writing any code, it's just triggering it via the workflow. And then once it does that, it goes back to monitoring again. So the first one is you deploy your IAC tool. AI will monitor your infrastructure, and if there's any issue that comes up, it decides and then go back to monitoring again. So it's like a loop, right? So it's it observes, it decides, and then it takes a decision. After it takes a decision, it goes back to monitoring again. So it's like a loop. So now, what are the key technologies that enables an autonomous cloud? One, we have tools and platform. So what tools do we use for this? For our IAC tools, we have Terraform, which is a cloud agnostic tool. So you can use it across almost all cloud platforms. So it can be used with AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, and other cloud platforms. You have AWS CloudFormation, we have Ansible, Puppet, and other IAC tools, right? Then we have AI powered monitoring, which will include your Datadog, your Cloud AI, and your AWS AI Ops. Under this AWS AI Ops, we have your CloudWatch, you have your AWS Lambdas that can be triggered when, let's say, there's a spike. When there's a spike, run this Lambda. So these are all monitoring tools that can be used to monitor your cloud infrastructure. Then we have some automation frameworks as well. So now, how does this tool interact? I already explained this earlier. So IAC will define the baseline infrastructure. Then AI monitoring tools will analyze, optimize, and then act in real time. And then your automation framework, which is your Git and every other thing, will ensure the workflow and then seamless scaling. Next, an example use case. I think I've already covered this already in the previous slide. Um, but I can go over it again. So a leading e-commerce company wants to use a combination of Terraform and IAC, Terraform and AWS cloud AI ops to manage your cloud infrastructure. So when you've deployed that, the AI system detects traffic spikes and automatically scales resources, ensuring there's an optimal performance without any manual intervention. So you can go on for weeks without having any loophole in your cloud infrastructure because AI is already taking note of that. And then you can set alarms, right? So let's say if your performance is reduced to a particular level, let there be an alarm that will be triggered, maybe in a notification on your Teams or your email connected to your Outlook, and then you can see it via your Outlook that okay, there's a spike at so time. So that's power of AI. So you can connect all these together without having any manual intervention. Now, what are the benefits of an autonomous cloud? So
Wait,
one,
Onichi, I know you're going all in, going all in, going all in. It's been a wonderful conversation so far, but I just want you to take a pause. I just want you to take a pause because you are sharing so much nuggets. You are sharing so much wisdom with us already, and I believe that many persons you are being enlightened. You are getting deeper insight. So, we want you to drop a comment. So, if you are getting any nuggets, you are being enlightened, you are getting deep insight from what Onyinchi is sharing with us, because I tell you, what she's sharing is gold. These are things that people are going to be paying thousands of dollars to learn. But here you are getting it directly from the source. Why? Because she's all about making an impact and making a huge difference. So drop in the comments. Whatever it is you are learning, you are gaining from what she's sharing with us. You can drop in the comment. Let us know that you are there with us. We want to know that you are there, you are learning, and we want to appreciate you as well. So, Nichi, thank you so much. I'll just pass the mic back to you so you can continue the presentation.
thank you, Zion. Okay, so yeah, so we can go ahead. What are the benefits of an autonomous cloud? One, we have operational efficiency. I think I've covered this earlier. So now you don't need to manually go in regularly to check your cloud infrastructure. Although there's still a human advantage, but you can reduce the manual work, right? And then now we have faster deployment cycles. You don't have to waste time trying to do it via your UI. You can just do everything, deploy as many servers at once via your code, and then in few minutes it's deployed, right? Two, cost savings, right? So the dynamic scaling, where you can scale out and scale up, right? So if we have high traffic, add more servers, and then if we have low traffic, reduce the servers to match what we currently have. So you're not paying for servers that you are not using. So it helps you to save your cost. And also the resources that would normally manage all of this would be reduced because once AI is doing most of the work, monitoring and then actively taking action on the job, basically. So now the last one is enhanced resilience. So we now have a resilient infrastructure that self heals and then automates its process, right? So it can predict a failure and then work up solutions that will help fix those problems, basically. Moving on, what are the challenges and consideration to this? Because for every good thing, there would always be a challenge. Um, but the advantage outweighs the challenges, and then there are best practices to actually overcome this challenge. One, we have the complexity of integrating AI and AI IAC tools. So that's one challenge that is we are currently facing. And then over reliance on automation could lead to blind spots, right? So in all, we need to also make sure that we are monitoring these things as human, because there's a human factor to all of these things. AI is still AI. So we need to make sure that monthly or weekly we check out the logs and check out if and there's any blind spot or anything that has been missed by the AI, or there are things that we have not covered in our rules, right? So we need to check that as well, because if we just leave everything to AI, there might be something that's spoiled, but you're not noticing that after a long time it might cause an issue. So you can always set up alarms to check every other week to see, okay, is the system okay? You don't over rely on a machine, because in all, machines are not really smart. It's what you give to machine that it returns back. So now, what are the best practices to further harness this AI and cloud infrastructure? One, you need to, as I said, you need to regularly monitor and audit these decisions, right? So you don't over rely on this AI. And then also maintain a human oversight to check every time that everything is working fine, because we are the ones that are setting the rules for this AI to work. So it's whatever you give to it that it returns back to you. So at fortnightly, you can just go in and then check that, okay, your logs are returning what it should return. There are no errors, there are no security breaches, and then you're in good hands. You're reducing your labor but still maintaining an optimal system, right? Yeah, I think we've come to the end of this presentation. If you have any question, you can drop it and then I'll be glad to answer. You can check me out on LinkedIn. If you have any further questions after today, you can send me a chat on LinkedIn on Onyechi. I can drop that on the chat. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Onyechi. That was a very powerful presentation. Guys, if you're in the comment section, I want you to drop an emoji for Onyechi as a sign of appreciation for what she has done today. Someone in the comments section said she's very knowledgeable. She's very knowledgeable, and that's true. You know your trade, you know what you're doing, what you're talking about. And what really impressed me is the fact that you want to share this knowledge with people. You want to impact people with this knowledge. You want to make a difference with this knowledge, because many person are having these challenges, especially with their cloud. But then being able to inculcate AI to help them do this just makes the journey much more easier. Yes, we truly appreciate you. Esther is saying thank you so much for the presentation. I love the points. I love the point of not being over reliant on AI. Yes, that really resonated with me so much, because we have to know our place and know that there has to be a check and balance. So as much as AI is doing the work, there is need for us to look out for the blank spot, like you said, also look out for loopholes. But these things are bound to happen, you know. But then embracing AI just make the journey much more easier for effectiveness and efficiency. So I want to say a big thank you. Is there anyone who have a question? You want to ask Onyechi a question in the course of our presentation, maybe something struck with you and you wanted to share with us, just go ahead and ask your question. She's here to give response to. And like she said, if you want to connect with her, she's on LinkedIn. Uh, yes, Onyechi Onyenuche. Yeah. Okay, I hope I got that right. I hope I got that
Yeah,
right.
you did.
Yeah. So do well to connect with her, because one thing that she's all about making an impact, like I said earlier. She wants to bring the knowledge, she wants to bring the wisdom, she wants to enlighten more people on how they can use AI when it comes to their cloud infrastructure and building codes, so that you can be able to do what you need to do. I tell you, this is something that businesses need. These are information that individual need. These are information that companies need to take their operation to the next level. So, peradventure, you are a business, you are an entrepreneur, a business owner, or you're an organization who needs this information, you can do it to reach out to Onyechi because she's in the business of training teams, training individuals to get this knowledge, to get this wisdom, just to be able to make that impact. Yes, Onyechi, I think someone has a question in the listening. I said, what types of AI are mostly commonly used in this context?
Okay, so we have AI integrated tools that are currently imbibed into some cloud platforms, right? I know of AWS CloudWatch. They are monitoring tools that you can use to monitor your systems and then add rules to them to say, okay, if there's any spike or any issue, set up an alarm or do this, right? We also have Datadog. We have Google Cloud AI tools as well. So there's most of these AI tools are imbibed into the cloud platforms. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I sure it does. I sure it does. Oluwafumi Adegbisan, if that answer your question, you can just do well to say yes, it does. I think she also has something else, another question to ask. Feel free to ask your question. She's here to give reply to it, reply that will suit your taste, reply that will match your question. So the next question says, also, are there ethical consideration in allowing AI to make infrastructure decisions?
So yeah, first of all, you need to know what data you're passing into AI. But for cloud infrastructure, there's not much data. You are the one that set up the rules, right? So you're not passing in any implicating data into this. So you're just setting it up to say, watch out for the logs, watch out for this, watch out for this on the system. And then if there are any issues, do this, right? So one thing to consider is what information are you passing in. But at the moment there are I don't see any any ethical issue with this.
All right, thank you so much. No, if there's one thing I got, it whatever you tell the AI to do for you is what the AI will do for you. Yeah, so you have to be very conscious of that. So you have to be intentional about what you want. You have to be intentional about the kind of structure that you want to get because it's very, very important. At the end of the day, you are truly the person in control. AI, what it does is just to make it much more easy for you to have control in whatever it is that you are doing. What we are doing here is on a surface level. In fact, there's so many information that Onyenchi want to share that she cannot be able to share because of time constraint. So if you want to learn more, are you an individual? You are a business enterprise, you are a big organization, you want to learn more about this, you can do it to reach out Onyechi on LinkedIn. That's the name. The name on the screen right now is the name she uses on LinkedIn. Or you can go to this event page. Profile is there. You can do it to reach out to her so we can continue this conversation. For her, it's all about making an impact. It's all about enlightening people so that they can be more better, be more vast in knowledge, and be more equipped in using AI in building clouds and making decisions that will scale your business to the next level. So, Onyechi, I want to say a big thank you for gracing our stage, inspiring our audience, sharing the nuggets, the deep insight, your wisdom, and for everything you represent. And most importantly, your heart in wanting to make a global impact, your heart in wanting to making a global difference, and see that even if you are in a small organization, you can make a global impact by using AI to make decisions that will scale your business to the next level.
Can you hear me?
Whoa, we can hear you now. There was a
Yes.
little glitch, I guess.
Yeah,
There was a little,
I couldn't
there,
hear
there was,
anything for a few seconds.
yeah, yeah. There was a little glitch, I guess, but then it happens. But we already come to the end of the show. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We truly, truly appreciate you. And yes, if you've gotten something from this event, you can make a post and tag Onyechi to let her know that you attended this event. You've gained so much knowledge from what she has shared with you today. Let other persons get to know. And you can do what to share this event. The video is always fun. Share to your group. You know somebody that needs this information. Share to them, repost it, let them know that this information is here, proudly sponsored by Onyechi to inspire the world and make a positive difference. So with that, I want to say thank you until we see you again next time. Have a great morning, a great afternoon, or a great evening, depending on where you are joining us all over the world. All right, everyone. Bye-bye.